Have you ever watched something that somehow understood you, even though you had absolutely no idea what was happening? Well, that's Fooly Cooly. The first time I finished it, I had the exact same reaction as almost everyone else. What did I just watch? So naturally, I did what every confused fan does. I looked up explanations, videos, forum posts, Reddit threads. I convinced myself that if I just watched it enough times, eventually everything would click. Every robot, every alien, every guitar swing, every single weird moment. I thought I'd finally understand it, but then something strange happened. The more I understood the plot, the less I felt like I understood why people loved it. Because I don't think Fooly Cooly was ever trying to make logical sense. At least, not in the way we usually expect stories to. Because growing up doesn't make sense either. I should state this before I get further into my discussion and reflection of Fooly Cooly. I am not at all arguing that the show does not have a clear premise or plot to itself. When you carefully analyze Fooly Cooly and pay attention to the characters and narration, you can see that there is a central theme and story that explains the whole anime. But usually, whenever someone finishes Fooly Cooly for the first time, the reactions are almost identical. Most will question things and say, "I don't get it. Can someone explain the ending?" The anime is completely random, but almost nobody expands on what does it feel like. To me, that is a much more interesting question. Fooly Cooly doesn't really behave like a mystery, it behaves more like a dream. Think about the last time you dreamt and you actually remembered what happened. The events probably made no sense. Maybe you were back in elementary school, maybe your best friend suddenly became a stranger, or maybe you were falling, or flying, or somehow both. The details disappear almost immediately, but the feeling stays. You remember the fear, the embarrassment, the excitement, the loneliness. Not because dreams follow logic, but because emotions don't need logic. That's exactly how Fooly Cooly tells its story. Take Haruko. One of the first questions people ask is, what exactly is Haruko? Is she an alien? A criminal? A space pirate? A manipulator? Sure. I mean, technically, you are correct. But I think that's the wrong question. A better question is, what does Haruko feel like? She crashes into Naota's perfectly ordinary life without warning. She's an exciting character, but also very confusing, thrilling, and dangerous. She's impossible to predict, almost exactly like puberty itself. The genius of Fooly Cooly isn't that Haruko symbolizes adolescence or this rebelliousness filled with chaos. It's that she recreates what adolescence feels like. There is a difference. One is an explanation, while the other is an experience. The funniest part about Fooly Cooly is that Naota spends almost the entire series pretending he's already an adult. He acts detached, too cool, too mature, too nonchalant for the people around him. I mean, he rolls his eyes at everyone, especially the adults. He thinks he's above all of it, but underneath that, he's terrified. Terrified of changing. Terrified of looking childish, terrified of admitting he doesn't understand what's happening. And honestly, who wasn't? Remember being a child. Adults seemed embarrassing, kids seemed immature, and somehow you convinced yourself you were neither. You weren't. Neither is Naota. He wasn't grown up. He just wanted everyone to think he was. And maybe that's one of the most honest portrayals of adolescence ever animated. Growing up isn't believing that having an absence of emotion makes you mature. Adults go through all sorts of emotions. It's necessary as humans that we discover and explore these emotions to overcome battles and struggles within our lives. Because at the end of the day, growing up is not pretending you've already arrived. It's realizing nobody really has. Even adults. They are just better at pretending. One thing I think gets overlooked when people talk about Fooly Cooly is that we tend to treat every story the exact same way. We assume the goal is always to understand it, to decode it, to solve it. As if every piece of art is hiding one correct answer, waiting for someone smart enough to find it. But not every story is trying to communicate through information. Some stories communicate through feeling. Think about music. Nobody finishes listening to their favorite song and immediately ask, so what exactly happened? Because that's not the point. Music doesn't convince you through facts, it moves you through rhythm, through emotion, through atmosphere. And I think Fooly Cooly works the same way. It's animation, it's editing, it's impossible pacing. The way scenes crash into each other without warning. The way conversations suddenly become action, or comedy becomes heartbreak. Those aren't distractions from the story. They are the story. The direction itself is telling you something. Not through dialogue, but through sensation. When Naota's world suddenly explodes into guitars, robots, and impossible images, we're not just watching his confusion, we're experiencing it with him. That's why I think trying to reduce Fooly Cooly into a list of symbols can sometimes miss what makes it special. Because once every metaphor has been explained, once every reference has been cataloged, once every alien has been identified, you still haven't explained why the show feels the way it does. And that's because some art isn't meant to be translated. It's meant to be lived in, to sit with, to experience. Just like you don't pause a song every 30 seconds to ask why this chord comes after that one. Sometimes the meaning only exists while you're letting it wash over you. Fooly Cooly isn't asking you to stand outside of it, analyzing every frame. It's inviting you inside to feel everything before you understand any of it. Ever since I watched Fooly Cooly, I kept trying to understand it. I searched for all the hidden symbolism, lore explanations, character analysis, and I thought there had to be one perfect answer. One video, one essay, one explanation that finally unlocked everything and the whole truth. But maybe that's why it never clicked, because I wasn't supposed to understand it in the first place. I was really just supposed to remember what it felt like, when life changed faster than I could process it, when emotions made no sense, when adulthood looked close enough to touch, but somehow impossibly far away. Maybe that's why Fooly Cooly has stayed with so many people for over 20 years. Not because they understand every scene, but because somewhere inside all of its chaos, they recognize a version of themselves. And maybe the greatest coming of age story isn't the one that explains adolescence. Maybe it's the one that feels exactly like it.